Louisiana-style red beans and rice, oyster and artichoke bisque, Louisiana jambalaya. Welcome to Dishing It Out Louisiana Style. I'm Angela Bertone, your host. In Louisiana, we love to cook, we love to eat, and we love to talk about it. In Louisiana, we not only cook with our hands, we cook with our hearts. Some people call that Southern hospitality. We call that a way of life. So today we're going to make tacos homemade style, which is going to be a combination of ground beef, grated potatoes, onions, and some seasonings. We're going to make some homemade salsa, and then we're going to prepare our stuffing to go in our tacos. My mother and father met in Livingston, Louisiana when my dad's best friend brought him down from Maryland for a holiday. And so, needless to say, 3 months later, after my mom had met my dad, they were married and started their journey together. My daddy's from Phoenix, Arizona, and is Mexican, and my mom was a little southern girl from Livingston, Louisiana. So today we're going to make tacos like my grandmother taught my mom, with a little bit of a twist of what my mother added to her tacos. And I'm sure it's not identical to my grandmother's, but pretty doggone close. So what we're going to do, we have a pound of ground meat. We have it in our skillet. We're going to get the fire going. So I've got maybe about a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of oil. And what we want to do is we want to brown our ground meat. We're going to season this with three seasonings: salt, black pepper, and granulated garlic. So let's go ahead and put that in. I used to ask my mom all the time, "Mom, why can't my tacos taste like yours? I'm doing everything you're doing." Well, I thought one of the things I didn't do was I didn't put enough garlic. She just killed everything with garlic, and now I understand why. And also, I was using the wrong kind of potatoes. So we'll talk about the potatoes in a minute. But this is fresh ground pepper. You can use white pepper if you prefer. One thing that will not go in our taco meat is your traditional Mexican spices like cumin or any type of chili powders or anything like that. I don't want my taco meat to taste like everything else. And what we want to do is I'm going to use a potato smasher to make sure that my ground meat is completely mashed up as much as possible. I don't want a large chunk of ground meat. I want it really, really fine. And as we brown this, we're going to add to it our grated potatoes and a little bit of onion. Okay, so we have red potatoes. Remember I was telling you earlier that my mother told me I was using the wrong kind of potato? Ever since I've been changing my potatoes and using the red, it's not always identical to Mama's, but it's pretty doggone close. Now I have 1 pound of your ground meat, and I have 5 potatoes. Okay, so we have all of them peeled. And now we're gonna grate them just like you would hash browns. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll make you a Mexican-American breakfast with some hash browns. All right, I'm just gonna grate them just like you would cheese or anything else on the larger side of the grate. And grating the potatoes, we're gonna grate them just like you would cheese or hash browns on the large side of the grater. And when we incorporate into that meat, remember we're going to fry it just like you would if you were eating a hash brown, really golden and crispy and crunchy. When I first met my husband, of course I don't look Mexican, so he didn't know I was. And I offered to fix him Mexican food. He was like, "I don't like Mexican food." So this is passed down from my grandparents and my nana to my mother. And I have yet to find someone who has not absolutely loved these tacos. All right, we're going to go ahead and put this into our meat. We're going to season the potatoes just like we did the meat. So since I salted the meat kind of like I would on my plate, I'm going to do the same thing with my potatoes. I'm going to salt them just as if I was going to eat this big pile. How salty would I want it to be? I'm going to do the same thing with my black pepper, and then we're going to kill it with garlic, just like Mama taught me. And this is granulated garlic, not garlic salt, because remember the garlic salt along with salt is too difficult to control. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix this together really well. And those potatoes are really gonna cook down. And it looks like I need to use my little potato masher because some of the meat is kind of gotten chunky and I don't want it to be. All right, that's starting to look good. Now I'm also gonna turn my fire up and I'm gonna put a little bit of onion in here like we promised, so it'll all fry together. And now what we want to do is get this fried golden brown like we talked about. Turn my fire up. I'm going to mix those onions. Try to get them mixed in really well all over so they're not just in one section of the pan. I've also made tacos like this with corned beef hash, with venison, turkey, just all sorts of things, so it turns out really good. Okay, this is gonna fry. I'm gonna show you this in a minute when we come back from break, but basically it's gonna fry just like a hash brown, and we'll finish this up. We'll also make for you some homemade salsa. And the reason I'm kind of packing this down, like I was telling, like a big giant pancake, is basically what it's gonna do is it's gonna make it easy for me to manage and keep it golden brown. When I go to turn it, I'm gonna cut it like in quarters. I'll divide it out like this. And it's easy for me to handle in this big old skillet, so it'll work out just fine. All right, we're gonna brown this up. We'll be back in just a few minutes and we'll get the salsa going. Be right back. Our taco meat is just about ready, so I'm going to show you just basically how I divide this up and turn it to try and keep it even. We're going to divide it and we'll quarter it out. And I'll even cut it again a few times. It just helps me to turn the brown potatoes and meat kind of evenly so that I can see if everything is brown like I want it. See how beautiful that turns out? Just like a hash brown. This is so good that my husband and my kids, if they're passing through the kitchen and they see me doing this, they'll come get a fork or a spoon or something and try to steal a bite. Makes a great taco salad. If I was doing this for a taco salad, I would put about half of the potatoes. Okay, that's looking good. And what I'll do is I'll let it brown. We'll turn this down a little bit while we get our salsa going. Okay, I'm gonna use a food processor today. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and use a can of tomatoes with green chilies. So that's green chili. I'm gonna put part of this tomatoes in here, not quite half. But we're gonna put our green onions in right now. And I'm just slicing it across so that it's easy to put in the food processor and arrange it around. Okay, this is cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, leave it out, but we love it. And I'm gonna go ahead and blend this up real quick, and then I'm gonna take it back off and season it up. And I'm also gonna put some pressed garlic. So let me take care of that real quick. It's gonna be loud. I'm gonna check this meat real quick, and I may just turn it right off. Okay, we're gonna put our spices. I'm gonna grab all those and let you know what's gonna go in here. All right, if you don't like balsamic vinaigrette, you can use white vinegar. You could even use a fresh squeezed lemon or lime, but just get yourself something that's got that acid flavor to it. And this is gonna be maybe, I would say, a little over a teaspoon. So this is our garlic. You can see I'm kind of heavy on my garlic. A little black pepper. And go light on the black pepper. You don't want it to really stand out. This is just a crushed red pepper, kind of like what you'd see in a pizzeria. This is something that I recently discovered. Mama never put this in hers, and this is a dark red chili. So salt, go light on the salt. You can always add more later. And just a little bit of sugar. And then this is oregano. Now my daughter doesn't like oregano in hers, so she takes it out, but I'm gonna put it in mine. Habanero, which is going to give it a little bit extra kick, spice-wise, so it's going to be a little hot. And this is cumin. Now remember, we didn't put any cumin or any Mexican traditional spices in my meat. That's why I want it to be in my salsa, not in everything. Then it's overpowering. And I'm just barely sprinkling a little bit of the cumin in there. I don't want it to overpower my overall salsa. So let's go ahead and blend this up. There we go. Taste it, and if it tastes right, then I'm going to put it in a dish and then add those chunky onions to it and the rest of my tomatoes, and it should be fine. That's really good. By the time I add my other tomatoes, I'm probably going to have to add a little bit more salt, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. All right, we're going to put this into a container so I can store it in my refrigerator, and then I'll put just a regular sized bowl to serve the family. So let me grab that container. We're going to put the rest of our onions in, and we should be just about finished with our meat and potatoes so that we can stuff our tacos. I'm going to dice up this onion just really, really fine. And again, this is Southern hospitality coming out, because when my husband and I go to the restaurant, he likes to dig out the onions on his potato and on the corn chips while we're waiting for our food to come, but my mom never did this. So that's what makes Louisiana cooking the way it is. We change things up, we borrow a little bit of culture here, a little bit of culture there, and we try to make our food palatable for whoever our guest is. It's just made with lots of love. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in here. And I do like some green tops, so I'm gonna do that too. Just real thin. And let's put tomatoes in. That's really good. Now tomorrow, after this sits overnight, it's gonna get spicier. We need to add this garlic. I totally forgot about it, but in tasting it, I noticed something was missing. The reason I didn't put this in my food processor is because the food processor does leave it a little bit chunkier than if I press it. Shake it off. One other thing that Mama used to do quite a bit was before she put all the spices, especially the hot spice, she would mix everything together and put that last, so that if we had, and we always did have small children running around, she'd actually make 2 bowls. One for Dad and those of us who liked it spicy, and one for those who didn't like it spicy. Okay, so we've got that done. Let's check on this meat and see if it's ready, and I believe it should be. Oh, look at that. That right there, that's what you want. That is what you're looking for. So we're gonna stuff the tortillas. And when we come back, we're gonna get our lettuce chopped. We're gonna shred it. Tell you a little story how Mama used to get me to shred it the way she likes it. We'll grate our cheese, and then we'll fry those tacos. And don't forget, we'll also have a little bit of food for your soul. Okay, we'll be right back. It is time to grate our cheese and shred our lettuce, and then we'll fry those tacos up for you. Okay, this is Colby Longhorn. You feel welcome to use cheddar or mild cheddar, whatever you like, Colby Jack even. But my mother used Colby Longhorn. It's still my favorite. I've already prepared my lettuce. My mama used to pick at me and would tell me that you don't know how to shred lettuce. You know, and she might say, your daddy shreds it better than you, or she might mention one of my sisters, and so that would just make me work harder to shred it even better the way she liked it. So Mama would cut off a wedge like this, and then she would take her knife and she would shave the lettuce really, really thin. Now she was picky about this. She didn't like it if it wasn't really thin and shaved. So we'll just keep on shredding this out. And imagine this, my mother had 6 girls, and friends and relatives or just friends from school would always want to come home to our house because Mama was always cooking. And my mother would fry, and I'm not exaggerating, like probably 125 tacos. because there were so many of us. You see how pretty that is? The shredded lettuce, the cheese, the salsa, and I've already got the sour cream out for you. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna move this aside and we're gonna prepare our tortillas. Now these tortillas are soft corn tortillas that come in a pack. There are two basic types that you'll find, and one is a yellow corn and the other one is a white corn. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use an open flame, and we're gonna soften these up so that when we stuff them and we bend them, it doesn't break. They will break on you when you go to fry them, and when the meat falls out, it pops really bad, like worse than bacon, and it'll burn you. Another thing is people say, how do you do that? How do you not burn yourself? Well, I'm actually pulling to the side when I'm flipping. All right, we're gonna turn that fire off and lay them here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stuff these tacos, and then after I stuff them, we're gonna fry them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my fire going to get it warmed up. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stuff these. I'm gonna form the meat with my hands. Typically I do it with a spoon, but it's a little bit cold, so I'm gonna do it with my hands. Just make sure it's tight and kind of in the middle. Another thing that the potatoes do is it makes the meat kind of stick together so that it's not falling out of your taco shell. And also, I don't know if you can see on camera, I hope so, there's a rough side to the tortilla and there's a soft side. Put it on the soft side. I'm just gonna form it in there. And I'm basically just trying to make sure it's all stuck together in the middle so it doesn't fall out on me whenever I go to fry it. So see, that's simple. And I'll go ahead and when I put it in my grease, I'm gonna hold it and form it, and we're gonna fry it right along the bottom. Try and help it hold its shape. I have a plate ready because whenever these are ready to come out, you usually don't have a whole lot of time to plate them, so have a paper plate or a platter with some paper towels, something to soak up that extra grease. And when you set them in the plate, I usually set mine on an angle so that the extra grease runs out. So I'm just gonna hold it, helping it keep its shape. And then once I feel like it's good and warm and, you know, kind of got its shape in there, I'm gonna turn it on its side, smash it a little bit, and then I'm gonna move it out of my way so that I can do my other ones. I'm gonna use 2 spatulas as opposed to tongs, and I'm gonna turn them. Look how beautiful and crunchy and crispy that taco looks. Yes, indeed, uh-oh. Okay, that looks done. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that fire off, and I'm gonna turn this taco a little bit on its side. All right, you guys, so what is our food for the soul? Food for the soul is when you stuff things down and you don't let them handle them properly, they'll pop out on you in unexpected times and sometimes cause some unexpected heat along your way. So rather than just overstuffing with your emotions or your heartache, let's go to and do our best and take those tough things that we typically want to just shove away and let it build character, integrity, compassion, things like that. So when it's just right and served up, not stuffed down too much and doesn't pop out, it'll make for good conversation, good Southern hospitality, right? Okay, this is what my mama would do. She would stuff them with cheese first, and it is messy. And then we'd have our lettuce, and then salsa. A lot of people do like sour cream on it. I'm not gonna put sour cream on mine right now. So now it's time to give it the taste test. So let's move this hair out of the way and give it a bite. Now these are hot, so I gotta be careful not to burn myself, but it'll be worth it. Gosh. I can't take a bite of one of these without just a flood of emotion hitting me. Great memories. And a little Southern girl married a Mexican man who was serving in our armed forces from Phoenix, Arizona, learning from my grandmother how to dish out Mexican food, Louisiana style. Join us next time.